Okay, Coach, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, just after taking a look at the film and kind of what I felt after the game, just, a lot of good stuff. And then really in crucial moments is when a lot of good things happen. There were, some short fields where the defense kept them off the scoreboard, which was great. And then obviously finishing the game and putting up that kind of points on a team offensively was a good rebound from obviously what happened the week before.
Did you make on defense along the defensive line in the front? Did you make some subtle changes last week that led to some results?
Not really. I think it's kind of like what I've said before. It's the guys are just getting a better understanding of how they need to play that position and what they need to do to be as productive as we want them to be and have been.
I mean, how did you feel like they played up front? I mean,
Yeah.
There's no number. They didn't give you any numbers, I
Yeah.
guess, but.
I thought they did a nice job. We controlled their running game, which we couldn't let them be two-dimensional. We wouldn't have had a chance. So I thought they did a nice job there. And then, we got some pressure and moved the pocket a little bit against Washington State, which was good.
Yeah. Short week with a morning game. You ever dealt with that? I mean, I know it's short week, but
Yeah.
I mean, short week with an early game.
Not this early,
How do
yeah.
you compress the week into making it so you're still ready to go?
Yeah, so we changed. We gave them Sunday off, which normally we work out and have a practice and go through. And we practiced today instead. Normally today's the day off, and we took the pads off, and it's more about assignment and then taking that physical pounding off because it is a short turnaround, and then we're playing in a couple days. So that's the biggest adjustment.
Is there one day that you kind of aren't doing as you would normally during a regular week? Like is a Friday kind of worked into another day then? Or?
No, we're still going to get the same amount of practices in that we normally would.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The quarterback plan you had against Washington State, was that specific to them because of the way they play defense, or is that something you guys might roll out against Boise as well?
It was both. It was definitely something that specific for Washington State and things we saw that we could take advantage of, but that's something we want to do moving forward with Jabari because he has that type of ability to make it hard to defend.
Yeah.
Fewer substitutions than maybe in some of the games previously this season, shortened the bench a little bit. Was that an injury thing, or is that just we've found out who our core guys are, we're going to roll with them today?
Yeah, I think it's a little of both. There's not as many bodies available, but at the same time, guys have kind of, who those guys are a little bit more than you did early in the year or mid-year and rolled with those guys. Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Boise State's got a Heisman Trophy candidate in the backfield. What do they do to help make him so successful? Obviously, he's talented, but what do they do to help make him so successful?
I mean, they do a great job in the run game, just their design and the shifts and motions to get you unbalanced on defense. And then, I mean, the kid's he's unbelievable. I mean, you watched the Washington State game. Washington State has him hitting the backfield a bunch, and he just breaks the tackle and creates an explosive run. He's just, really good player, tough, physical. He's tough to stop, and he's really what makes them go. There's no doubt about it.
Have you ever seen a running back like Ashton before? I mean, just what we're seeing him do this season, it feels like something we've never seen before, at least in a long time. And how do you even just go about trying to stop him?
Yeah, trying to stop him, you got to get hats to him. You got to eliminate one-on-one tackles with him because that's just not in favor of the defense when you got to go one-on-one with him. So hats to the ball, and then you got to wrap up. And if you don't bring him down, you got to at least hold him up and not let him, get out in space where he can really kill you.
Is there any player that you can ever recall that he reminds you of in the backfield that you've seen?
I'm not sure. I'd have to think about that one, but yeah, he's definitely you don't see many guys like him very often, for sure.
In regards to the offense this past weekend, obviously the last couple of weeks it felt like just trying to get into the end zone was a struggle to do, and obviously this past weekend that was not the case. Watching the film, what do you think was the biggest difference? Was it game planning? Was it just execution by the players on the field? What did you see watching the film?
I think it was both. I think, went in with, like I said after the game, we went in kind of with a smaller call sheet, and the big reason for that was, execution. what can we execute, what are we good at, and then the players did a great job of making those corrections and executing in game.
The message to the team, just what is it this week? Obviously, final game of the regular season, a chance to potentially become bowl eligible. How are you making sure that they're mentally and physically prepared for, obviously, Friday, short week, and obviously early morning game to where, they're going to play their best come Friday?
Yeah, mentally, I'm not not as concerned. Like I've said all year, they've done a great job of responding to whatever has happened. And so I know that today we practiced a great day. They were focused. They were locked in. It's the physical part that we have to help them with. Like I said, taking the pads off, getting them healthy so they can fly around and play fast.
Boise State has struggled in 2 of its last 3 games against some teams that don't have great records. Fans might look at that and say, hey, they're in a slump. This is an opportunity to knock them off. How does a coaching staff look at a team that's maybe scuffled a little bit in the last couple of weeks?
Really doesn't have much effect on how we look at the game. There's just going to be weeks. Very few teams, ride that high of always just dominating whoever they're playing. It's a long season. It's a tough game. It doesn't matter who you play. If you don't play your best in college football, anyone can beat you. We look at what they do schematically. Who are their guys? Who are they trying to win the game with? And that's what we prepare for. How they did against Wyoming or anybody else doesn't really matter when we line up against them.
Beyond this week, the transfer portal deadline, start of that's going to open real soon. Are you starting to have conversations with your players already, or do you wait till Monday to start those?
We'll wait till after the season, and that's usually when players bring stuff up. Now, the other part of other coaches talking to them, you can never control that, but that's when usually our conversations with our players happen.
Well, that was my next question. What is there anything you can do to combat the third-party people contacting family members about? I mean, do you know things that, or?
Yeah. And we knew last year, and we know this year, and it just is what it is. I mean, we can't stop it, so we just have to, get out ahead of it.
Yeah. When you're talking to these players about, are you going to come or go, whatnot, it's no secret the guys that transferred last year, a lot of them, the grass wasn't greener.
Yep.
Do you use that as a sales pitch that, we brought you here for a reason and,
Yeah, I think it's just for anyone looking, at transferring. I think there's got to be a reason why you're doing it. There is a lot of, this looks better, this, because, I mean, you can, like you said, there's a lot of guys that had a ton of production here, fit our scheme and what we did, and that's why, they were great players, but they also fit perfectly into what we did, and that's why we recruited them. You got to make sure you're a perfect fit for whatever scheme you're going to be in, because every linebacker doesn't fit every defensive system. Size, strength, speed, all those different things that you look for. You might not be a fit at that school that you think is great. So that's just what they got to look at and not be lost in kind of the other stuff that at the end of the day, if you're looking to play at the next level, you want to make sure you're in the right system that really shows off your skill set.
Going back to Boise State, obviously they're going to be a future Pac-12 team here in just a couple of years. When you look at this particular game, what are you kind of hoping to take from this in regards to the future of potentially facing off against this team year in, year out, and what do you hope that this particular matchup ends up becoming in the next couple of years between these two programs?
Yeah, I think it's going to be another great rivalry within the Northwest. They're a great program, have been for a long time. I personally at Oregon State have had a good history with Boise State. Both as a player and as a coach. It's been a great game, 2 great fan bases that are, just great programs in general. So I look forward to it being a great rivalry moving forward.
With this obviously being the last regular season, obviously your first year as a head coach, how do you think this year has gone for you so far? I know there's been ups and downs, but just evaluating it, from a, unbiased standpoint, how do you feel like things have gone for you, obviously heading to this final regular season?
There's been a lot of, learning. First experiences in a lot of areas. We've had just about every situation on the football field you can imagine, making those decisions. But the biggest takeaway and what gives me so much hope for the future is the guys in the locker room and the way that they've been so resilient and stayed positive and gone back to work. That's not, you don't see a lot of that, and especially nowadays, that concept of team, and to be able to have that. And these guys buy into that has been a great thing and has made it easier and has made it enjoyable, even though times were hard for a while.
Thanks, Coach. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.